How's it going, everybody? This is Andrew from the Greatest City in the World podcast. We're continuing our series today on the Kittanning 300, all the research on the greatest small towns in America. Mike, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you? You didn't even introduce me, but why do you introduce yourself? Everyone knows you.
You need no introduction. But anyways, good stuff. It's been so interesting over the last few weeks, kind of going through these lists and getting some greater insight into maybe what we can do as Kittanning.
Yeah.
And what every other small town in the world could potentially do to start to try to revitalize and to make themselves more marketable to the rest of the world. So you got another list for us today, right?
Yeah, I do. And every list has been a little bit different.
Yeah.
This is a new list. So I've been trying to look at, for the show, the 2019 list.
Right.
And a lot of them have just recently come out, and a few we're kind of waiting on. This is a brand new list. It's called the 26 Best Small Towns in America, according to travelers.
Okay.
So people coming into these towns, they write about them on social media, they get on people's radar. And the list was put out by BuzzFeed, which is a big internet site. This list just came on July 1st. It generated a ton of shares, a lot of comments, and it's making a lot of waves.
July 1st. That's like hot off the press.
Hot off the presses,
okay.
Right?
Fantastic.
And it is a really good list.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into detail about every town, but to me, I think it is probably the most well-done list. Just a nice eclectic variety of towns spread out geographically. No one central theme except one on this list, and we can talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
Interesting thing too, all the photos of these towns were pulled from individual people's Instagram accounts. So if you visit the list online, it's all Instagram. And I always say we live in an Instagram world, right? And the more things we can do to get people to take pictures and put them on Instagram of Kittanning is a positive. So the first town is, I don't even know how to pronounce it, so I'm probably going to butcher this name. You can even try this one. It's a town in Maine. It's a coastal town in Maine.
Oh, wow. Ogunquit, Maine?
That's how I was going to go with it, too. I even tried to prepare for that. Coastal town, just a New England town. The people love this New England sense, this New England vibe town. And the next one, Jefferson, Texas, is a historic Texas town. People love kind of this Texas hill country, this romanticism with these historic towns that still have kind of quaint streets and old architecture. Third town on the list is New Plaza, New York. We talked about a couple towns in the same region of the Catskills being on many other lists.
Yeah.
Again, right in the middle of the mountain range, really cool downtown. It seems like these towns in the Catskills in upstate New York have revitalized their main streets. This one talks about live music and awesome restaurants and things to do. And then, of course, the Adirondacks and whatnot are around you in New York.
Yeah. I don't know if that... I'm assuming New York people pull a lot from New York City, too.
And I think they're on the list because they're a great... People, the 20 million people in the New York metropolitan area, they want them to read this and travel to these towns.
Yeah.
And these towns, I think, have done a good job of revitalizing themselves, offering something different than what you'd find in Midtown Manhattan, right? And trying to pull from that huge population center they have.
I just wonder, too, New York City is like... it's an Instagram world for sure.
Yeah.
And so you take those people, and when they go visit somewhere, they're more likely to be kind of engaged with that social media side. And so how could we as citizens of Kittanning, like when you go to Meredith for the first time, we should be putting that on Instagram. Yeah. We should be promoting that business. We should go on TripAdvisor and tell them about our Meredith experience, all that kind of stuff.
I think we talked about it last week a lot about the marketing of Kittanning, right?
Yeah.
What was apparent in this list is the people who are in these towns, predominantly their chamber, are doing a good job of marketing their towns.
Right.
Right. So it's not only their website, but it's also TripAdvisor's listings are all pulled out. Right. It's that they have Instagram accounts for their town through these chamber organizations. They're actively outreaching to newspapers. In the case of these towns, probably Boston, Syracuse, New York, right, to get stories about these towns. And that's an ecosystem or something that's not happening right now in Kittanning.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of legwork, but one of these stories, as we talked about, can start a snowball rolling downhill, so to speak, and really help a town get a lot of publicity.
I just wonder if even someone listening to this right now, if they could go on Google and just start writing reviews of the different places around town that they know. Positive reviews, hopefully.
Well, any reviews would help. I was just telling Andrew to get on the things to do list on TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
You need to have at least 15 things to do in your town. Right now in Kittanning, there's only 2 things listed.
Which is crazy. Because there's so much more to do.
But these towns that are smaller than our towns, right? And a lot of these towns have put their churches and whatnot on the list. And Kittanning could fill that list with churches, get a internet presence,
yeah,
and promote the architectural beauty of some of our churches. So
super interesting. Okay, sorry, go on.
No. Weston, Missouri is another town on this list. It is an Irish town in Missouri, full of bed and breakfasts and breweries on the Missouri River. Very small town.
That's come up again and again too. Bed and breakfast, and that was the last.
Yeah,
list.
A lot of bed and
like
breakfast is, especially with these the lists that are more travel centric.
Yeah,
I think they like to find unique places to stay. Most of these towns also have either bed and breakfast, or they'll have some type of like 20-room hotel, non-chain, that's quaint and just is a neat place.
Yeah.
They market themselves. They actually have a motto. If you go to this town's website, it's the best small town in Missouri. So a lot of these towns have capitalized on their fame from these lists,
right,
and use it to promote themselves more.
Absolutely.
Cannon Beach, Oregon, really beautiful town. It's a tourist town. It's right on the coast with the rocks, and you always see pictures of it. It's called Cannon Beach, Oregon. Touristy, kind of different vibe than Kittanning. Now, there's another town that is taken, this one closer to home. It's called Yellow Springs, Ohio. It's just outside of Dayton.
Oh, okay.
It's about 4,000 people. Their motto is everyone's favorite town, right? And they kind of came up with this eclectic kind of place to have a nice downtown. There's a couple state parks around it. They have a lot of unique local restaurants downtown, but they've kind of made this like really cool downtown. And they've capitalized on them being on some of these lists and getting some notoriety. Not far from Cincinnati, reachable from Columbus and Indianapolis. Really one that we could probably follow in Kittanning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the name of that one?
It's Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Yellow Springs, Ohio. Okay.
Under 4,000 people, so very similar to Kittanning.
All right, go ahead, sir.
So there's another town I've never heard of, Solvan, California. And they've actually noticed this as a Dutch town outside of Santa Barbara. Bookshops and bakeries. This is a beautiful part of the country and really high in that area. It's really costly to live.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. The coastal town. I could see why some people would love to check it out. Kind of old school California, not overbuilt, so to speak.
Yep.
Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, which is kind of near your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, we drove right through Chippewa Falls on our trip to Minnesota.
So the note of this is they have a historic downtown, lots of little shops. They have even a zoo that came on this. They do some good things downtown, and they're also home to Lion Kugel Brewery.
Yep.
But you would say it's probably a clean town with a nice downtown and a nice vibe.
Yeah. Summer shandy, and I can remember a lot of the Lion Kugel products from a past life. But anyway, go ahead.
That was and I think the company in that case put that town on the map.
Absolutely, yeah. That brewery was like a very small microbrew type place, and now in the whole Midwest, they've kind of taken over the market. I bet they have a pretty high market share.
I bet they do too.
Comparable with some of the bigger breweries.
So anyway. Number 9 on the list is Jekyll Island, Georgia. It's a old school beach town. It's touristy but non-touristy. You know, a lot of these lists and these people doing these lists want to kind of be cool, right? So they're trying to find like the next up and coming place or places that are not like over popular, right? I
think it's funny how we haven't seen Chautauqua on any lists or anything like that, because that's like a classic, Western New York place where people would go.
Yeah.
Like a very touristy place. Or Deep Creek, Maryland hasn't been on any of these lists, but I think those are people aren't looking for that.
They're almost too touristy.
Yeah, they're
right?
looking for the next one.
They're looking for I think where people want to live.
Yeah.
Right, and people want to visit, and people want to put on their Instagram, right, that I was in this town and you weren't in this town, right?
Yeah.
But this is one of them. Next one, though, is pretty well known, especially to college football fans. Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah.
They have a motto of being the cutest small town in the South, but they have the Ole Miss University there, which is a huge economic engine, but the downtown is historic and restored.
Yeah.
This one is a tourist town, at least I think a lot of people have heard of this one. It's Mackinac Island, Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you can go out there. It's all types of shops and just a great place people want to visit. And it's built completely around tourism.
That's like Upper Peninsula Maryland or Michigan, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Great Barrington, Massachusetts. It's just a cute downtown, locally owned shops and restaurants is what they noted. Great scenes in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Puddin Bay, Ohio, which I've actually been to. It's a really much a island off Sandusky, right? It's a home of bachelorette parties and bachelor parties, and a lot of people go there to hang out. There's no cars on the island, and it's a neat little town. Eccentric, right? Something different.
Yeah.
The next town is Coates d'Alene, Idaho. There's these towns in northern Idaho that are really hot, that are extremely. This is like a place that HGTV Dream Home would be. I think one might have been there.
Yeah.
Right? That they have these lakes in northern Idaho. Not too far from Spokane.
Okay.
If you can think about geographically.
Yep.
They're in the ski resorts, but they have really nice summer climate, and they have become like the destination for very wealthy people to build their vacation homes, and the towns have thrived. They're very local centric. I bet you in this town you would not find a decent sized home for probably under $300,000. It's a very hot area.
Oh wow.
The Coates how do you say that, Andrew?
I have no idea. Coeur d'Alene or something?
Yeah.
Something like that.
But there's 3 or 4 towns that go by this name, Coeur d'Alene something.
Yeah. We'll put the list in the description, so you can go and try to pronounce them yourself.
Pronunciations are not my strong point, but I know about these towns because they are on Instagram a lot.
Yeah. And
a lot of people, famous people, have places there, but beautiful towns and beautiful scenery, outdoor towns for sure. Saugatuck, Michigan, beautiful downtown, restaurants. It's on Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Fredericksburg, Texas. I think this might have been on another list, but if it wasn't, there's a couple towns in this Fredericksburg area. It's called Texas Hill Country.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've actually been to Texas Hill Country, too, outside of Austin and north of San Antonio. Wine is huge there. It's like now the next big wine region behind Napa Valley. Lots of wineries, lots of kind of quintessential Texas. They have a real local vibe. You could see that our friends Chip and Joanne rolling up there and selling antiques, right?
Yeah.
But great summer weather, warm like all year round.
Yeah.
Texas Hill Country, I know a lot of people from Texas, and they always say, "Man, I wish I would have bought a home or property in Texas Hill Country."
Yeah.
Because it's exploded.
Yeah. I know you had a couple from. There's a couple from PA on this list too, right?
Yeah, so they're at the end of the list.
Oh, okay.
So the next one we got Bennington, Vermont, outdoor town, kind of New England town. Portston, Washington, coastal town. The coastal towns have these good seafood. Some of those things we can't compete with.
Yeah.
Brisbane, Arizona, which is a downtown that they revitalized not far from the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
Leavenworth, Washington is a German-style town with quaint shops in it in Washington. There's a town in Alaska. I'm not even gonna go on this one. Well, the second list in a row that we had a Washington town, an Alaskan town.
Yeah.
And then we get to New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I dove into New Hope and Jim Thorpe are the 2 Pennsylvania towns. Yeah. The other towns on the list are Banner Elk, North Carolina, peaceful town in the mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains. Portsmouth, New Hampshire, great shops. People have heard of Portsmouth. It's really good, vibrant downtown, really local. And Ketchum, Idaho, you might not know that it's Ketchum, but they have it's called Sun Valley. A lot of people know this as Sun Valley. And I think it's like a Davos place where like Bill Gates and these people go there every once a year for some big kind of exclusive event. But it's supposedly very beautiful. Ski town in Sun Valley, but in the mountains.
I think I remember when we were reviewing some 2018 lists. I think I remember seeing Ketchum, Idaho on one of those. But.
Again, an area where property values are kind of going through the roof.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
but the 2 towns on the list that I think we should be expertly aware of are New Hope, Pennsylvania, Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Jim Thorpe came up in my initial research as the town to compete with in Pennsylvania. Litza, PA, and now New Hope is new on my radar.
Where is New Hope?
New Hope is actually on the Delaware River.
Oh, okay.
North of Philadelphia,
not
far from Trenton, New Jersey, and not far really from Easton, PA either. It is a old school town. They have kept their downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't tear down a lot of buildings. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's vintage shops with a lot of clothing shops and antique shops. And it offers something different. It's pulling from New York. It's pulling from Philadelphia. And it's gotten people to come to this town. There's some unique restaurants. Their town, they've done a great job of promoting their town in places like the Philadelphia papers.
Right.
And building a good ecosystem, a nice website for their Chamber of Commerce or their DKI type groups, right? Places to stay, bed and breakfasts, things to do. I can tell you that, at one point, Kittanning had way more things to do than New Hope, and probably way more stores.
Right.
But New Hope has kept this going, and now it's full of these. It's like a trendy place to go for an hour drive from a major metropolitan area.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other town, which came up a lot, and even they noted on their own town website that they are one of America's best small towns, is Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
I think it's the birthplace of Jim Thorpe, and they have a statue for him. But that didn't even come up in this article. What came up is it has very nice scenery in the mountains, right? It's not far from Allentown, Pennsylvania, or Scranton. It's kind of southern Poconos, right? The scenery, and it has a revitalized kind of downtown. Very quaint. You can find bed and breakfasts there, right? I don't think, again, if you go on their TripAdvisor, right, the things to do are look at churches, a couple parks, the monument to Jim Thorpe, and the various businesses and restaurants that they have downtown.
Right.
Right. To say that Jim Thorpe is years and years ahead of Kittanning, I don't think so. I think there's only one key differentiator between Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and Kittanning, Pennsylvania, in my opinion, over the last 10 years, is Jim Thorpe. The people there have marketed themselves very well.
Right.
It's got notoriety. Right.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, we're closer to the major metropolitan area than they are.
Yeah.
Right. The property values for a home in town are about the average home in town is, for what I've been able to find, $130,000. Kittanning's probably around $60,000.
Right.
So it's because they have this brand now and this notoriety, right? It's raised the property values of their town and community.
Right.
So I thought it was extremely interesting.
Yeah, I think, Kittanning, if you look at the ups, it's all upside for me when you look at property values. I mean, the people that, if you could buy up properties now, or you're looking for a single family home, you're in the Pittsburgh area, I would think if Kittanning can make this turnaround and we can become one of the best small towns in America, Kittanning 300 becomes a thing, property values probably double.
Oh,
Easily. And some of the houses on, Water Street will be $1 million houses.
Well, I don't know about that, but I would say
some of them down there with
I would say the Kittanning property value is probably one of the cheapest in the country, really, when you think about it, the amenities that it's near.
Right.
But still a lot needs to be done. I've been pushing for that we need to rezone Kittanning so that people will have a sense of, okay, this is not going to move in next door.
Yeah.
Right now, the zoning in Kittanning, just doing that, I think would have a major impact. But starting to promote the town and create a vision, right, I think would do would do wonders.
Yeah.
Kittanning, we've improved our infrastructure and streets a lot, right?
Yeah.
I think continuing to do that would help out as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think cleaning up blight, those kinds of things, filling up storefronts, all the stuff we've been talking about are going to be essential.
Well, we should take a road trip to Jim Thorpe, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. We could make some videos.
When you think about the best small towns in Pennsylvania that come up, right? What's been on my radar: Jim Thorpe, Litza, Ligonier has been on the fringes of a lot of these lists. Yeah. And then, like I said, New Hope now.
Yeah.
And those are who we're competing against. If you look at maybe Yellow Springs, Ohio, maybe there's a couple towns in the Ohio area we could take a list. No towns around Pittsburgh, other than Ligonier, which has not been on any of the new lists. Have made this list. Any of these lists.
What kept jumping out at me was you kept saying the word vibe this time, and so we're talking about. I mean, and it's maybe something that's not super tangible, but it's kind of the Instagram world that we live in. There's a certain vibe in a certain town, and so you were talking about coastal towns have that northeastern vibe, or the California vibe, or the Texas vibe.
Yeah.
What's our vibe? Like, I don't know. We have to kind of. I think that's an important question, because you think its look and even its character over time from this hard-nosed steel town. Now they want to be known as this tech hub, the future of robotics and AI and all those different kinds of things. So do you try to hang on to that kind of steel town gritty vibe and sell that, or we try to do something different?
Well, I don't think Kittanning has a gritty vibe at all, right? So I wouldn't think I think we somehow want to detach ourselves from Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
As something different and unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always said we have an outdoors background. We have a historic feel, right? I mean, we were one of the oldest towns in America, really. We have some unique architecture. I think it's a combination of adventure, history, and uniqueness.
Right.
And it's kind of this Western PA vibe, right? I don't know what to say. It's not there. It's not like it's not the Texas Hill Country vibe.
Yeah.
You could blindfold me, put me down in a town, and I could say, oh, I must be in Texas Hill Country because I can feel, you know, or I might be in this part of the world or wherever, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you could look at the Instagram pictures that went with this article, right? And I bet you I could get 25 out of 26 correct.
Of the region, at least. Yeah.
Without seeing the name.
Right.
No, I'd tell you the town. I'm like, these are the towns on the list. Match the town to the picture without seeing the.
Yeah.
And you would be able to get the vibes right from the mountains, or just the New England architecture is different than the California architecture. And the Midwest has different things like the soda fountains and things that you see in these towns. Like Oxford, Mississippi, they have kind of the southern architecture. Just even kind of the restaurants, the kind of the clothes people are wearing, even, right?
Yeah.
But they have their vibes, right, and they're attracting people. These towns, right, are on this list because people visit them. Mm-hmm. In large number, right?
Yeah.
And they're growing, and they have this unique sense, and people want to come there and take photos and eat there and explore the culture, right? A thing that's come up in all these lists is arts, and culture.
And Pittsburgh has done a good job with it, and I think you look at towns, you know, Cleveland's trying to revitalize, Cincinnati, Detroit, you know, all these. We're kind of in that Rust Belt that I would say Kittanning is an old Rust Belt town, and I do say that a lot. So, yeah, how do you make the Rust Belt vibe attractive? Because I don't think anyone from like New York City is like, oh, I can't wait to go to the Rust Belt for the summer. You know what I mean? But we really should be trying to draw people from that far even. And if we were on a list like this, you would get people from the DC area or people from New York or Philadelphia coming to this half of the state. How do we make Kittanning more attractive and kind of maybe shed some of that Rust Belt
absolutely
vibe?
You got to remember, Toronto, one of the biggest cities in the world, is 5-hour drive from Kittanning.
Right. Yeah.
And certainly doable drive with a lot of young people who would love to travel to these different places, right? And Detroit and Cleveland, and the population center within a 5-hour drive of Kittanning is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It's just we have to do a better job of, I think, tapping into that and marketing to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so much like little things. When I drive around town, it's, you know, I still get the feel of Rust Belt town. Uh-huh. And it's like, it's small stuff like the sidewalk has garbage on it, or, you know, you drive through Wick City and there's weeds in all the sidewalks, and I just don't. When I drive back to Minnesota, I don't see that.
Yeah, well, I don't think Rust Belt town. I think that's just how it's always been in Kittanning, because we've never focused on that. But these towns that are on these lists are clean. Yeah. Right. Like we know, right? We're getting very close on, I think, what formulates these towns.
It's such simple things, and it's like it's just a mindset shift. Can we just change our mind as a town and just say, hey, we're better than that kind of mentality, you know? I don't know. It's really interesting. When you said vibe, I don't know why that just jumped right out at me today. Like, our vibe is not conducive to travelers right now.
Right now.
And it could be so easily, because we have all the other intangibles are there. The travel stuff, there's beauty all around us. There's really cool architecture. There's just like that vibe is missing. Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of these towns have kind of wanted set out, and they've created a vibe. Yeah. And they kind of put their stake in the ground and said, this is how we're going to be, and they've adopted a vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
Much like companies adopt a culture.
Yeah. So what else you got?
That's what I have.
That's, I mean, we're right at where we want to be. We're at 25 minutes.
Yeah, so hopefully people can digest this. I think all the lists have been really interesting.
Yeah,
we're
very
finding
much so.
lots of great things about arts, how these towns are marketing themselves, right? To me, I think the biggest gap here between all these towns in this list is we're completely marketed or not marketed at all compared to what these towns are doing.
Right.
These towns have the county, but they also have their own individual towns. There's a visit, wherever, visit Ketchum website, right?
Right.
And it's beautiful. And there's the county has their own site, right? So they're pumping and they're reaching out. So I still think that's probably the biggest thing. Plus, we talked about the art scene, the cleaning up towns, things like that.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably maybe do one more, and then we'll wrap this up and put together the huge battle plan or roadmap or
right.
whatever you want to call it, which I'm super pumped about. And I think it's rooted in a lot of data. And, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting question. Is that the okay question for you today?
Well, you can tell me the question.
Yeah.
Let me say one other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've gone through at least 120 towns.
Right.
There are no red flags that say to me that Kittanning can't make these lists.
Right. I 100% agree. The ones that I've looked at, I look at the towns and I'm like, it feels like we're just so close.
Yeah.
And I think this is a real big key to it. When you talked about the online presence and the Instagram world and TripAdvisor and those kinds of things, those towns were proactive in creating a different perception for their city.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, perception becomes reality.
Right.
And so if we can create a different perception, if we can create our own vibe of, hey, here's what Kittanning was, and yeah, but this is what we are now, I think we could do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's difficult.
I think it's achievable.
Yeah, I think it's achievable. It's difficult,
especially
right?
more so now than before I did the research.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the question. My question. You have a different one.
No, all you.
What is Kittanning's vibe to you now? Like when you drive around town, what do you feel like Kittanning's vibe is, and what do you think the vibe should be, and what are the changes that we need to make to make that turn in your head? Can you be positive about the future if we made one or two changes here or there in the city? What would those be? So it's all about vibe today for me. Do you have any other questions, or is that okay?
No, I think that's excellent.
All right.
Excellent question, my man.
So let's roll with that. We will be back next week on Friday again, and if you guys have any comments, please put them down there.
We're skipping a week.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
We're skipping next week, but we'll be back 2 weeks from now on Friday. And so if you want to join the conversation, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
And we will be sure to mention you when we come back.
We need good ideas.
Yeah, we need good ideas. And in the meantime, get out there with your cell phone, take some beautiful pictures, write some nice reviews on Google and TripAdvisor, and let's start to change the perception of our city.
Yeah, hashtag Kittanning, hashtag greatest city in the world.
Absolutely. Hashtag greatest city in the world. If you look up hashtag greatest city in the world, it's like 80% New York, and then there's like Kittanning mixed in and along with some other towns. It's super funny. But anyways, that's it for today, you
Good
guys.
stuff.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you, Mike, as
Thank you,
always,
Andrew.
for
Yes,
all your work
pleasure.
and all the background stuff. It's enlightening to all of us, so we all appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a great day.